Hi, today we're talking about coaching philosophies, and it's a neat presenter I've got for us. It's two generations. First, we've got master coaches Mike Morse, who's the father, and then Mike's going to talk to you a little bit about leadership and coaching, some great points, and then Will, his son, which I'll do an introduction of. You'll have the PowerPoint afterwards to look at some highlights from his philosophy. Everything we're going to talk about here is going to be used for that first assignment and designing your own. So first off, talking with Mike, first generation here. Mike's a State High grad, Penn State grad, did his undergrad and master's here, and then after doing some high school coaching, became a basketball coach here at Penn State. Once he had a family, then he retired so he could spend more time with his family, but was an instructor up until his retirement just recently here in the kinesiology department. Mike's incredible motivational speaker, but also you're going to see he speaks from personal experiences, life experiences, and some unique twists that have happened to him that, again, you'll hopefully hear a little bit about as he talks. Will and his son, second generation, State High grad also, was an all-state basketball player, and actually they won a state championship when he was a senior here. Went on to be a college basketball player, have a great career at Colgate, and then coached some Division III basketball before then going to prep school, South Kent, and now is back in State College at Our Lady of Victory, the Catholic school here in State College as the athletic director. And again, you can click on the links with some of the information on Will and his design. As Mike talks to you here in just a little bit about leadership and coaching and his philosophy, I'd want you to think about that number one assignment. Like I said, think about your definition of leadership, the way you would define ethics in sport, and then your coaching style in regards to winning, fun, and the three developmental areas that you have to address. Think about getting maybe your first draft set up. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mike Morse. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Paul. I think the starting basis for everything I talk about will come down to the success. Everybody talks about success. Everybody wants to be successful. But when you ask for a specific definition, then it gets a bit vague. And my definition of success, there are three keys, basically. You've got to know your purpose in life. You've got to grow to reach your maximum potential. And you've got to sow seeds that benefit others. And the natural question might be, well, how do I know my purpose in life? And I invite anybody who's hearing this to just do some serious thinking about that, because people that know their purpose tend to have a straight line to success, if you will. And I think everybody who aspires to anything, it's your responsibility to identify whatever that purpose is in your life. As anybody who's coached should know, when you work with any kinds of people, whether it be in business, in leadership positions, in order to be successful at whatever your goals are, you have to have total buy-in. That is absolutely essential. That's a success essential that you have to have. I look at foundations that make up coaches and successful coaches, and as I've thought about over probably close to 40 years of experience, thinking all the way back to my first job at Penns Valley High School, there are 6 qualities that I think will really help a coach. If you identify these, work on these, it'll make you more likely to have the kind of success that we all strive for. Number 1, take a good hard look at your values. Do your values reflect those of the institution you're going to? Because if they're in conflict, you're going to have a difficult time with them, and they're going to have a difficult time with you. So you got to examine values. Number 2, you've got to be able to read people. Those who can really read people, know who your friends are, who your friends aren't, know how to read people, know what the motives of individuals who come into your sphere are, you're going to be a lot more capable of moving forward and knowing the people that work with you and for you and what motivates them is critical. The third thing is the basis of power. Most of us look at a food chain, if you will, and there's a chain of command. But in real life, oftentimes, there are people hidden all over the place that have more power than you'd think. A perfect example would be in a high school, believe it or not, the custodial staff, the janitors, wield a lot of power. If you're a basketball coach and they don't really know how to clean the floors, or they don't like you, they can make your life miserable. If you're the secretary for someone like Joe Paterno, she holds the keys to meeting with Joe Paterno. If you'd like to get a meeting with Coach Franklin or Coach Chambers, you probably got to get to know somebody on the staff. And oddly enough, you'll find that access to people that you like to learn from can often be held by people that you wouldn't suspect. So you got to really examine the basis of power in an institution. Next, there's composure. You are going to run into, in any endeavor in life, things that really challenge you. Here at Penn State, we've had some major challenges with the entire Sandusky problem, and more recently with the probably national news at the fraternity house with the death of a young Penn State undergrad. And when those tough times hit, which they're going to hit, you have to really have what I call composure. You have to be able to keep your head when everybody else is losing theirs, and that's a difficult thing to do. It's easier said than done, but you've got to have composure. Goals are critically important. I tell people most of my undergrads spend more time worrying about where they're going on spring break than they do worrying about where their life is going to be 5 years, 10 years down the road. It's critically important that you set goals in numerous areas: financial, physical, social, educational. Those things really are things that can launch you more quickly on a path to success if you can identify very specific goals and, as a leader, help your people to understand goals. Last but certainly not least, attitude. It is not the problems in life that define us, it's how we respond to those problems. Attitude is critical. You've got to learn to maintain an approach that no matter what happens, you're going to be able to meet that challenge, because challenges will face you and attitudes are infectious. I like being around people that are positive, people that like challenges, people that like to win, people that like to bring the best out in others, and that will flow down to your people. Everything that you do, they're watching what you do, so attitude is critical. There's also, let's get on the next one. Speaking of adversity, I like to read. One of the things that has really struck me, because I've had the opportunity to work with a Congressional Medal of Honor winner, Michael Murphy. I had him in class, and you want to talk about adversity. I learned a lot about Navy SEALs, and in the process picked up a book about Admiral James Stockdale. He's one of the oldest ranking officers ever imprisoned in the Hanoi Hilton during the Vietnam War, and he underwent unbelievable torture and torturous situations for him and his men. And in order to survive, basically, in order to get he and his men out, somebody, and it was him, had to devise a way to do that. And when he came out, when he was interviewed for the book that I was reading, the interviewer was surprised when he asked Stockdale if the optimists were the ones that came out. Obviously, Stockdale said no, the optimists were the first to go. He talked about dealing with situations. No matter how difficult a situation you face, you have to admit you have a problem in that area. You have to identify that problem. You have to deal with that problem. And basically, that leads to the faith that you have to have underlying that, not a blind optimism. The blind optimists really don't get anywhere. It's those people that look life square in the face, deal with the situations, and still maintain the faith that you'll get through it, and you usually can. There are 3 points to leadership that I refer to as contingency planning. Basically, Russ Rose, one of the best coaches in volleyball as far as I'm concerned, a personal cohort, talks about keeping it real. The reality of the situations that you're in, you got to understand who you are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what you really face, who your foes are. Understand the reality. And if you do that, you can develop a game plan to deal with that reality. confronting that reality will give you the plan that enables you to move forth with a purpose. Developing that plan is, as I said, essential in terms of pointing your way to contingency planning. And last but not least, persistence, and it's called stay the course. It's so essential. I'm reminded of a lady who tried to swim the English Channel. It's quite a challenge, and there was a tremendous fog that set in, and she decided that she couldn't see more than 6 feet in front of her, and after many, many grueling hours, she decided to touch the boat and say, "Go ahead, let me in." And to her dismay, discovered that when she touched the boat and they looked at her, she was actually only 50 yards from shore, and it was actually not even over her head. Another 30 seconds and she would have made it. So you never know how close you are to that plan, to that success you're striving for. So persevere, stay the course, and make commitment to that a reality. There are 5 levels of leadership that you need to understand, because if you work for someone, understanding this will make you a better employee. If you lead people, understanding these will make you a better leader. The level 1 leader is called positional. This is a boss who simply has authority, and the only reason you listen to them is because they have authority over you. That's not a very good type of person to work for unless you're doing something you really don't care about. You understand the rules and boundaries, and generally speaking, working for someone that simply expects you to obey simply because they have the authority, it's a real situation, but it's not even close to ideal. The second level is the permission. And that is someone who you are going to develop a relationship with. As a leader, as a coach, if you work for someone like that, basically that relationship shows you that they care about you. And as you understand more and more that process, you're more willing to carry out the things that they are asking you to do and the things that you're being asked to do if you're in the position of working for that leader. Level 3 is production. It includes the second level, the relationship, but this person has the foresight and the knowledge to inspire you because they are giving you specific productivity goals. They see the potential that you have. They put specifically in your mind so that you understand and they understand your role, their goals for you. And when you can see that, it really empowers you, and you become a better employee, and you like working for a leader like this, because not only do you know where you stand, what you have to do, not only do you have that relationship, but basically you can move forward because you have goals, you can work to attain them, and when you don't, it's already been laid before you and you can make efforts to improve. Level 4 is people development. These types of bosses want to see you succeed to the point where they are going to help you get ahead. They don't mind, truly great leaders don't mind surrounding themselves with people that may be better or smarter than them, because it's going to make the organization or team better, and they are more than willing to help you towards your goals because you have a total understanding that they have a relationship with you, they're committed to you, they're results oriented, and they want you to succeed. And when you recognize that as an employee or a player, you are definitely more motivated. Finally, there's personhood, and we could put into this category famous people. The John Woodens in basketball, the Joe Paternos in football. These people are so legendary that people are drawn to them. I often kid Russ Rose, the volleyball coach, that he doesn't have to recruit. He differs with me a lot on that because he's out on the road doing it. But he's been so successful as a volleyball coach that people actually seek him out. In addition, we have probably the best wrestling coach in the country with us, and the irony is that the man has never lost at anything. Cale has talked about how specific he can be in selecting the type of people he wants in his organization and his wrestling team. And certainly athletes are aspiring to go to Cale Sanderson as much as they are to Penn State. So that personhood, that great charisma is the final touch on a truly great leader and a truly the type of person you'd like to work for. As a finishing touch, there's things that need to be said, and I like to use the concept of a wood stove. In this instant gratification generation, many of us observe students who can talk to a friend in Germany, they can look something up on the internet, they can Google answers, they can write papers off the internet. You need to understand that there's no free lunch, and basically your success in life is going to be directly proportional to your efforts and your ability to put into practice the things I've talked about. When you look at a wood stove, basically you've got to start small. You've got to get the fire going. Once the fire is going, you put more into it and it gets hotter and hotter, and the more you put in, the more heat it gives out. So in life it's the same. The more you put in, the more you're going to get out. And unfortunately, many people don't want to put what they have to put into that wood stove to get the results. They want instant gratification, and that's a myth. Along those same lines, when you're working with any individual or individuals or working with teams, businesses, people don't care how much you know. I've been present when Rhodes Scholars are showing very, very intricate pictures and graphs of things that they know, but they're not really teaching, and people are going to know if you care. In a short sense, people don't care how much you know, but they know how much you care. Until they know how much you care, they are not going to be as motivated. So it's essential that when you come to any meeting with any of the people you're going to lead, show them by your example that you really do care about their well-being, about their good. Another one is you're going to forget what people did. I asked just in a class today, how many people remember who won the World Series 2 years ago, and nobody could. But people are going to remember how you made them feel. That is so important. Most of us can identify, as I do, with my varsity basketball coach in high school. He had a profound impact on my life because he genuinely cared about me. People that take the time to help you realize your potential and that genuinely care about you through thick and thin are people that you'd go to war with, and that's the type of an individual that you'd like to be as a leader, and that's the type of individual you'd like to work with and for if you're in a company or on a team. I'd like to give a shout out to John Maxwell. A great book for those of you that are interested to look at is the Complete 101 Collection. It's a great book on leadership, and many of the ideas I've covered I have actually seen in the workplace in my career as a coach and teacher, and it's a sound and solid resource.
Thanks, Mike. As you can see, Mike is an example of just an incredible resource right here at Penn State. And as he mentioned, there's some amazing leaders, both in sport, in administration, and education here at the university. So as you start to develop your own philosophy on leadership, the best places to start is right here at home. Do some quality research, some quality work, and you'll develop a solid foundation just like Mike has. Thanks.